Welcome everyone to this special edition of Smart Money Canvas. It is a special edition because just last month I marked a major milestone in my own age, um, i.e. that age that when I was much younger and my father hit that age, I used to think that, wow, he's a very old man. But now here I am, several years after I thought that I had that thought about my dad. I'm in his shoes. Great. But one very important subject that we can't afford to dismiss, especially when you start getting to this age, is retirement. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not thinking about that subject well enough. When you start getting older and age is creeping up on you, you start thinking, what am I going to do? You look at your finances, they're not looking that great. And you think, what am I going to do? What you need to do is to get smart with your money. Fortunately, in the UK, the retirement age is about 68, but that doesn't mean you can't retire earlier. But the earliest you can access your state pension will be at the retirement age. So for people within my age bracket, the coming years, they're going to be moving that age from 67 to 68. So before I get to my own retirement age, I'll need to be 68, which is still a few years down the line. But all of that said and done, and no one should wait till they get closer to 68 before they start thinking about their retirement. You need to start thinking about these as early as possible. I've been doing this subject of financial intelligence, with training this subject for close to 20 years now. And financial independence is one of the major subjects that I promote. You don't necessarily need to wait to get close to retirement age before you start thinking about financial independence. The earlier you start thinking about financial independence, the better, because you don't need to be, you know, getting advanced in age before you start thinking, oh, you know what, I need to make sure that I don't rely on income or salary, uh, wages before I'm able to take care of myself. So this subject that we're looking at today, and what I'm going to be taking you through very quickly, is very important. It's something that a lot of people should pay attention to. And what I put together here will help anyone to take a quick assessment of what their financial life looks like today. And they can start putting things in place to ensure that they do not retire with regrets. So that's the big question. Are you prepared for retirement without regrets? Okay, so what is the solution? How do I ensure that I make arrangements adequately for retirement without regrets? One of the key things I'm going to really sound to us in this edition is that it's not enough to have a lot of money. People think if I can stack enough money, then I'm going to be okay. Yeah, maybe if you want the money to be, well, there's the same things you can do to ensure that you're going to be okay. But it is also very important to be financially intelligent. You need to be smart about how to use your money, even just before retirement and even in retirement. So I'm going to quickly take us through this on this special edition of Smart Money Canvas. There are four key categories of asset, which we refer in Prism Check to as the RICE asset categorization model, or just a short, you can say the RICE model, which anyone can use to start assessing their current status and also start planning for future experience with retirement or working towards financial independence. The RICE model is so amazing because it focuses you not just only on what people term as retirement, but also it broadens your view as to looking into other areas of asset categories. So let's dive straight into it. I'm not going to get into too much detail in this video, because there is another series. If you check within our channel, Prism Check, you'll find another series on investment strategies or the 5 laws of investment. In that video, I went into detail about this RICE model. Well, very quickly, I'm just going to give us a quick overview of what that entails. So it's an acronym. RICE stands for the Harbin Retirement or your pension funds. So we've got about 3 categories of that, which we're going to be looking at in the table in a moment. Same thing with investment vehicle. That's what the I stands for. The I stands for investment. We've got 3 categories of that as well. Cash is what the C stands for. We've got some categories that we're going to be sharing with you that you could potentially take advantage of. Okay. And the last but not the least is equity. So if you've bought your own home, equity is a very important subject to look into because you don't want to get into retirement and you're still paying mortgage, right? You don't want that at all. So you need to take care and look very, very closely into this aspect as well. Okay, so all of that said and done. Now let's dive into this table. By the way, this template is available for you for download, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about how you can lay your hands on it. Now you can use that to do your own calculations really, really quickly. Okay, so what I'm going to do, whilst I've got these table on the canvas here, it's just to give you an idea of what it's all about. When we start putting the numbers in, I'll jump into the spreadsheet so that we can use the spreadsheet to do the calculations, and that will be far more quicker than punching calculators. So like I was saying earlier on, we've got 3 categories there. We've got the retirement, private pension, which could be SEEP or it could be SAS as well. You get your company pension, second one, and you get your state pension. Those are the 3 broad categories of retirement that we talk about in Prism Check. And on that investment, again, we've got 3 classes or subcategories. We've got the business asset, appreciating asset, and the risk asset. When we start putting the numbers, I will go into greater detail on each of these classes. And then for cash, you can have everyone who's got access to this easy access account. There's a savings account that you can open with any bank you currently bank with in the UK. We also have the individual savings account, ISA, which is a very tax efficient way of saving money. And also you've got fixed income, which is like a fixed term interest account. So this is a savings account where you put your money in there for a fixed term and you don't have access to that money until that term matures. Okay. And then for equity, we've got all your own home, where you own your home outright, not jointly with maybe your partner. Second one, obviously without saying, is a jointly owned home. Okay, so let's jump into the spreadsheet now. Is retirement status assessment, where we're going to be putting the numbers in here to quickly work out what your status look like. So I'm going to be using some arbitrary numbers to just give us an idea of how this works. Let me explain to you as well very quickly how all this column work. And before I do that, let's quickly look at these aspects of age. So depending on how old you are, you can put your age in, and it's going to tell you very quickly how many years you go to retirement. So like I said earlier on, retirement age, someone like myself will be 68. By the time I get to 2040s, I'll hit 60 at some point, right? And the retirement age is 68 at that point in time. So if you're 35 in here, you see that changes to 33. If I put 40, so let just 40 for the purpose of this walkthrough or this illustration, we're going to be using the age 40. So let's think of an arbitrary guy called Stanley. Okay, so Stanley is 40 years old, and Stanley is trying to assess how he's doing when it comes to his retirement status right now. Stanley also has put a figure in here at the bottom here, which is what his target income is when it gets to 68. So in the next 28 years, Stanley believes that his target income will be his projected income, which he desires, will be £60,000 a year. Now, under these column here, column B here, we've got the various assets. Column C here, we've got the balance, and column D, you've got the rates. Here, you got the annual income. So pay more attention to the rates here. What we've used here, we've used some reasonably conservative figures to estimate what each of these asset categories or classes will attract in terms of what the market is currently doing or saying. Okay. So for Stanley today has a pension plan, a private pension plan. So called SEEP. So SEEP allows you to actually save into your retirement before your income is taxed. So that's a very powerful tax efficient vehicle, which I personally use and is phenomenal. It's so powerful, and I strongly encourage a lot of people to look into this direction. I'm going to be doing another video later on, which I'm going to be showing you real life examples of how you can use these vehicle, which is very powerful. So Stanley has been saving money in a SEEP. SEEP allows you about £60,000 a year from your income to go into your SEEP tax-free. So the 60,000 out of my income. So if I earn 120,000, I can afford to put £60,000 out of that gross of 120,000 into my SEEP, and I will not be taxed at all for that 60,000. Rather, I'll be taxed for the remaining 60,000. So it's a very brilliant and efficient way of saving. So Stanley has been working for, let's say, the past 6 years. He's got this promotion in the last 6 years has brought him to 120,000 a year. And he's been maxing out his SEEP allowance, which gives him about 60,000. It became 60,000 not too long ago, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not quite sure now. But within that time, let's say 4 years ago, right? Just for the purpose of this coding, as we're doing this for 4 years. So 60,000 over the period of 4 years, that will give him 240,000. So he's got £240,000 in his SEEP. So what that means for Stanley is that if he were to be drawing that pension in the next 28 years at the rate of 4%, we'll be drawing 9,600. That is what today's rate is, 9,600. So remember, Stanley still has 28 more years. So that 240 can actually continue to grow. So even if that pension pot, that private pension pot, is growing at a rate of 4% a year, so compounding every year, 9,600 is added this 240, and that can keep compounding over the next 28 years. So that in itself is powerful. Okay. So also Stanley has a pension with his company. Out of his gross income again, the company takes some pension and put it into a pension program for him. So let's say that Stanley's got about £50,000 already accrued in that pension. Okay, so Stanley has today's equivalent of £2,000 as income from that pension. Remember again, this can still compound. State pension, Stanley is paying his NI contributions adequately, and there's based on his retirement age, the projection at the moment is going to be about £11,500. Okay, and Stanley is going to have 100% access to that. Now it can be drawing once it's 68, so it will qualify for that amount to 68. Okay, so that's the retirement. That's the R of the Rice model completed. So if you look at the figures here already, Stanley's got a net an asset base there just on retirement only of about 300,000. and it's got a projected potential income of 23,000, which is not bad at all. Now, if you look at its shortfall, the shortfall is just about 36,900. If his target income is 60K. Okay, so I think Stanley is doing fairly or reasonably well. Okay, but let's go now into the next category, which is investment. So Stanley has been doing some side hustle where he's been putting uh, money into some side business he's been running, and that is not doing badly. So the strategy that Stanley is employed is that from that business, he intends to be drawing some dividends at some point from that company. But right now, his strategy is to accumulate enough capital, which he can put into some save savings account, business savings account that can generate about 6% per annum for him. And Stanley's target is if he works his business so well, he can push that money right into that savings account. So let's say his target is about £200,000. So £200,000 for Stanley at 6% will give him about 12,000 a year. The next investment subcategory is appreciating asset. Appreciating asset is nothing but real estate or anything that appreciates in value. Limited supply appreciates in value. Okay. Constant demand, limited supply, that leads to appreciation in value. So the safest vehicle that we all are familiar with that we promote in Prism Check is real estate. So Stanley's been doing a good job saving some money, putting it aside, and buying properties every 2 years. Now, the investment that Stanley's been putting into his properties is a tidy sum of about £40,000. So every 2 years, Stanley, for the past 6 years, Stanley has been investing £40,000. So currently, it's got £120,000, which is giving a decent rate of return of 10% because he's bought property in some very good places, done his normal crunching, and is yielding 10% for him. So that's about £12,000, and that's his current state. His risk asset, Stanley's been quite conservative when it comes to risk asset. He doesn't expose himself too much to risky ventures. However, recently he couldn't just resist the trading that Prism Check had about crypto assets or decentralized finance. So Stanley's gone through that trading and he's put some money into that as well, just growing it nicely, doing staking and doing some yield farming, and it's got just some decent amount of about £10,000 in there at the moment. Reasonably safe, but we still class anything crypto or forex or even stocks and shares as risk asset. So even though that money is reasonably safe because he's got some stable coins, giving him 10% return investment and he's getting £1,000 from there. And also, so that is investment done. Now let's move on to cash. Stanley also is put some money into his easy access account. So the way Stanley has structured his finance is his easy access account is where he accumulates his savings in before reinvesting them into either his retirement, putting more money into his SEEP because you can actually put more money from your net income into SEEP and the government will give you more money to add it to that, or you can take it directly from your gross income. So Stanley has used his easy access to accumulate his savings from where he then puts it into investment or retirement, as the case may be. So at every point in time, Stanley measures his financial independence based on the balance of the savings account that he can instantly access. So this easy access account is one of such, savings account you can instantly access. So Stanley's got about £5,000 in there at the moment. And that's giving 4% return. That's about £200 a year. And Stanley has done some very brilliant work in maximizing his ISA as well. So someone's already thinking, oh, how can you possibly maximize your SEEP or you're maximizing your ISA as well? Yes, if you put some good strategies in place, you can actually achieve these. If you work collaboratively with your partner, if you're married or if you're married, you can do a good job at this. So let's assume again that Stanley's been maxing out the £20,000 annual allowance of his ISA. The beauty about ISA is that any income from your ISA is completely tax-free. So if I build my ISA over time, over a period of 15 years, you can actually build up to like £300,000 in your ISA. Over a period of 25 years, you can, even though over the past 25 years, it's not always been 20,000, but just for argument's sake, if it's been 20,000 a year, 25 years, that's about $500,000 that you can build up there. And that money is completely, the interest on that money is completely tax-free. So Stanley has managed to max out his ISA over the past 3 years. So 20,000 a year times 3 years, that's another 60,000. Again, there you go. 4% tidy sum, 2,400. Stanley also has utilized fixed income accounts. So from year to year, it puts like £2,000 into a fixed term savings account. And now this returns 4% again, but is happy with that. Just put £2,000 in. So over the last 3 years, it's put about 6,000 in there. Okay. So that's how its current status looks like. And when it comes to his equity, Stanley owns a property. It doesn't own it outright. He doesn't own it outright. He's got a mortgage on it, and he doesn't own it by himself as well. It's jointly owned with his partner. So for the only owned home is zero, so nothing comes from there. And a jointly owned, so Stanley owns this property with his wife, and that property today is valued at 600,000, and the current mortgage balance on that is 200,000. So today, Stanley's got £400,000 worth of equity in the property. If you split that by 50%, which is his own portion, that's about 200,000. So we'll put £200,000. Yeah. Okay. So what we've done here actually, so that should be 400,000. 400,000. So what we've done by calculation is that is added to your net worth as 50%. So the system automatically calculates that for you. So that means in total, Stanley's got about £900,000 in his asset portfolio, very close to £1 million, and he's got £50,000, £2,940 income. Of course, he doesn't have access to some of them, the ones retirement, he doesn't have access to those ones today. So if you look at those, you're talking about 13,000, about 22,000 doesn't have access to, but these other ones has got access to them, okay? Because they are income that are outside of his pension pool. So he's got access to these ones. Now, let's take a look at the gap that Stanley's got right now. So Stanley's got £9,060 to make up to this £60,000. So Stanley's not doing bad at all. He's not doing bad at all. He's got 28 years to make up the gap. Okay. And it's 9,060 to go. So confidently, I think even if Stanley doesn't put any more money in, it won't be that difficult for him to hit the figure. So we've just talked about Stanley here, who is managed to have this sort of numbers. For you, it might not be so. It might be way less than this. It might be just about 10% of this is all you got. Maybe all you've got is 90,000 or 100,000 in your total asset portfolio. Now, the question would be, how many more years do you have to work on it? And where do you need to get to? So you can use this calculator to help you understand where your current state is. And also within the template, which you can download, you also will be able to see the future state, or you can project your future state and work out the gaps and determine these are the things I need to put in place for me to be able to hit this target. I hope that was helpful. Let's jump back onto the canvas now. So how can you get this template? Very simple. You can find this template by downloading our app. So it says we strongly believe is one of the best, if not the best, personal finance app in the world. I personally believe this is the best personal finance app in the world because it connects your financial life in one place. That's why we said boldly that is the only account for your financial life you will ever need. So you can go to www.mygapup.com, download that app. If you're doing that on all you simply need to do is if you're doing that on your laptop, simply just click on sign up. If you do that, you will see this QR code. Just scan that with your mobile phone, and then you will take it to App Store or Play Store, as the case may be. If you scan that QR code, you will then see the mobile version of it on your phone, and then you'll be able to go to App Store, Play Store, as the case may be, to download the app. But once you download the app, you register for it. Once you get to the end of the registration, you'll get a screen like this presenting itself to you, asking you to join the thriving community of gap holders. Now, when you join the community, you will have access to this tool. Apart from the fact that my Gap Hub is a great and fantastic app, which literally you'll be able to get anything in there. You'll be able to have access to investment opportunities. You'll be able to run your budget. You'll be able to run your analytics and see how well you're performing with your projected goals and all that. It's phenomenal. But you can join the community. Joining the community will allow you access to the tools that we've gone through today and also to training education programs that you can get access to and also some other wonderful opportunities. So what you're waiting for, go to www.mygapup now, put it on your phone, on your laptop, download the app, register, and then join the community. And that template will be waiting for you. And then I'll be able to work with you as well to help you get closer to your financial goals. So thank you for watching this special edition of Smart Money Canvas. And hopefully we'll see you soon again. Thank you.